Today's lesson is over rule number 3 for learning target 1. Here we'll be talking about the division of like bases, and so that means that we will subtract the exponents of like bases, but when we're dividing numbers, we'll just use division with those numbers. So remember not to subtract, like in the example where we have 12 divided by -4. Okay. Now we could write this all out and say have all our p's multiplied to each other on the top and in the denominator. So I could write out all my p's, so all 8 of them, and then write out all the p's on the denominator. And then instead we could just cancel everything out, as p divided by p would be 1, so I could cancel out 4 of them. And so then that would leave 4 p's on the top, and be based on what we talked about in rule number 1, that would be p to the 4th. Okay, because I'm just adding up those exponents. But the simpler way is just using the subtraction of the like bases. So for p to the 12th divided by p to the 7th, I could just say p to the 12 minus 7 instead, because that minus 7 is really canceling out 7 of the top ones. And then that leaves me with p to the 5th. Okay. Now in the next one, since there's multiple things that go together, kind of like what we did with rule number 1, I can separate them all out and say 12 divided by -4 by itself. And then I could say x to the 3rd divided by x to the 7th, and then y divided by y. So 12 divided by -4 would be in its own, and then I would say x to the 3rd minus 7. And then because those y's are both to the first power, I would say y to the 1st minus 1. Okay, and then simplify. So 12 divided by -4 is -3. X to the 3rd minus 7 is -4. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. Now, when we have a negative exponent, that'll be something we'll talk about with rule number 5. But for right now, we'll leave it as -4. When we have something to the 0 power, that actually deals with what we're going to talk about in the next video, rule number 4. Okay, so we'll talk about it then. Number 1 here, we want to combine our like bases and subtract their exponents because of the division. So then I'd have x to the 6 minus 4 power and y to the 3 minus 1 power. That gets me x squared times y squared. Okay. Number 2, I have a 3 and a 5, or 3 and a 15 that go together. So I divide those because they're regular numbers. A doesn't have anything for in the denominator, so I'll just leave it as a to the 1st. And the b's go together, so I do 7 minus 5. Okay. Now 3 divided by 15 is really 0.2, or you could write 1/5 and just have times a, and then it would be b to the 2nd. Okay. Have fun.